honored members of the court. What would you do if you were a town hero? The person people look to for protection, for security, to keep their homes, livelihoods, and families safe from things like wolves and bears or bandits and brigands. And you heard that one of your townsfolk, a beautiful young woman you happen to be romantically interested in at that, had been kidnapped and was being held hostage. Would you leave her to her fate? Or would you saddle up your noble steed and rush to her aid, not only to rescue her and perhaps earn her heart, but to put an end to a dire threat against your town and everyone in it? In almost every scenario, the man who rushes to rescue the damsel in distress is a hero. But this time, he was labeled the villain, a monster. All because the damsel, well, just wasn't particularly interested in him, and he maybe wasn't the best at wording things. I am, of course, referring to the brilliant hunter and protector of a small French town, Gaston. Gaston, as anyone can clearly see, is a man who values strength. He has honed his body to be the best it can be through diet and exercise, and he's a skilled marksman who probably brings in the vast majority of wild game that the town consumes, providing valuable resources and protection. He's a little arrogant, maybe, but come on, who do you know who looks like this and doesn't have a healthy dose of self-esteem? Maybe a little bit of an overdose, but you can't blame the guy for knowing he looks dang good. There are lots of beautiful girls in the village, including 3 blondes, but he only has eyes for one, Belle, the heroine of the story. She's not only beautiful, but a bookworm and very clever, while the blondes who show clear interest in Gaston are, well, one of the names they're known by is the Bimbettes, so you can imagine they probably don't have many interesting things to say. They might be pretty, but beauty is only skin deep, and Gaston likely wants more than that, even if he doesn't really know how to express it. The town in general seems to think that Belle is weird, and while they're surface-level kind to her, none of them take the time to really talk to her, except Gaston. He shows concern for how the rest of the townfolk think of her, and how that might affect her daily life. He stands up for her, and when his friend LeFou insults Belle's father, he's quick to tell him off, even if he might agree. With good reason. Belle's father is an inventor. A failed inventor. It seems like most of the things he makes are impractical, ineffective, and downright dangerous. Most people rightfully think that he's insane because of his ramblings and the catastrophic nature of his work that often results in explosions, smoke, and all kinds of strange sights and sounds coming from their house. If I were Gaston, I would be concerned that it might be genetic, which does, in fact, come up later. The crimes he stands accused of are coercion or extortion, kidnapping, and attempted murder. The meat of the story takes place when Belle's father makes an invention that seems to work for the most part, and loads it up on a wagon to take to the fair, leaving Belle at home. He gets lost in the woods and separated from his horse Philippe, who runs back home. Wolves chase him to the gate of a giant castle, which, how did no one in town know this was here? There are obviously hunters in the town, including Gaston. A few of them surely would have roamed far enough hunting wolves or deer or something to stumble across a site like this. Plus, having a castle here means that the town was probably one of the closest suppliers for the castle's needs. Aren't they selling food and other supplies to them? The castle clearly isn't running out of food going by the feasts they prepare, so where are they getting that from? Some castles are basically self-contained cities that produce their own food, a relic back from when months or years-long siege warfare was commonplace. But this castle isn't one of those. It doesn't seem much of the fortress-style one either. It would have been impossible for anyone to set foot in it who wasn't welcome without them bringing along cannons and ladders and all kinds of tricks. This one seems more of a castle for vanity's sake, so it's not the kind that's designed to support itself and would need almost constant resupplying. So, who did they buy the supplies from? None of the staff are human, so they can't send 1 or 2 people into town every so often to buy a bunch of stuff, give a cover story, and return with the goods. Unless they found a merchant who is surprisingly willing to sell to a chamber pot and a broom. I have no idea how they're keeping themselves fed and supplied. Anyhow, Maurice, Belle's father, goes inside and is tended to by the servants who are all sapient furniture. Yes, sapient, not sentient. There is a difference. Until the beast appears. This bear-buffalo hybrid thing throws a tantrum about a poor lost traveler, a harmless old man at that, who was just searching for somewhere to rest and find help after getting away from the wolves. He violently grabs Maurice and drags him into a freezing tower, where he's kept imprisoned. Philippe manages to make it home, Belle realizing immediately that something terrible must have happened, and riding him to find her dad. Philippe surprisingly manages to take her straight to the castle, even though he's never actually been there himself, having gotten separated and run from the wolves much earlier. Belle wanders into the castle, searching around until she manages to find her father in the tower, but the beast shows up. Belle makes a deal with him to stay there in her father's place, for her father to be sent home. Maurice immediately goes to the pub to ask the men for help, including Gaston. Now, picture this. You're Gaston, a famed hunter, and just having fun and a few pints hanging out with your friends. Suddenly the town loony comes busting in, yelling about his daughter being kidnapped by a monster and locked up in a tower. Of course you're not going to believe him. For one, there are no towers anywhere around there. You've roamed far and wide while hunting, and never once have you seen any manors or castles or anything anywhere in the area that could have a tower to lock someone up in. Secondly, it's Maurice, the guy who regularly blows up his own house and just does the same thing again and again, expecting different results. Isn't that the definition of insanity? So you take it as a joke, and figure that Belle is fine and she's probably just not out and about right now because it's snowing and the weather is nasty, so she's probably been staying inside with a good book rather than wandering around, and maybe Maurice thought she wasn't there because she was just being quiet. She does get lost in those books sometimes, you know. She might have forgotten entirely about the outside world. It'll be fine once she gets to the end of the book and comes back to Earth. Maurice is just being crazy again. In fact, he's kind of dangerous if you think about it. He's always causing trouble, blowing things up and making deadly machines, refusing to stop no matter how many times those machines simply don't work or hurt someone. And now he's hallucinating about monsters? Clearly, he's getting worse, and poor Belle is stuck alone with him. What if one day he hallucinates that she's the monster and attacks her? What if something terrible happens and he and Belle both get hurt and nobody can run for help? He's obviously getting worse and worse, as far as his mental state goes, and you can't just sit around and let him continue getting more and more dangerous, especially with a young woman trapped alone with him. Anything could happen. Clearly, the best place for Maurice is the asylum, where he can be tended to by professionals and stopped from doing dangerous things. Belle would never go for it, of course. She's a sweet girl who wants to take care of her father herself, but doing so alone is clearly out of the question. So, what's the solution? Of course, if she marries you, then you can be there to protect her and make sure her father doesn't do anything dangerous. You're no king, but you're pretty wealthy and well off, so you can see to it that she's comfortable and has all the books she wants, and her father is tended to by doctors who might be able to do something about the whole madness thing. Besides, no other man in the village is remotely interested in her. They all think she's weird. So you're obviously the only choice. Clearly, this is the right thing to do and the only real course of action to take. He gets a beautiful wife, Belle gets protection and someone who can actually provide for her, and Maurice is stopped from causing any more harm and gets medical care. Everyone wins. Now, here's where the accusations come into play. Your friend watches their house, waiting for them to come back. Apparently they're out for the moment, maybe going to pick up firewood or something else to help in the weather. And when they do return, he quickly comes to get you. You let a few of the townsfolk know about what you've seen and the conclusions you've come to, so they join you when you bring the asylum keeper, mentioning their own experiences with witnessing Maurice's madness and how much of a danger to himself and the public he is. Belle, of course, gets upset, and you tell her that Maurice can stay living outside of the asylum if she marries you so you can keep her safe and him under control. This is what most people refer to as the part where he's coercing her. But he's clearly not trying to force anything. He's giving her an option that he thinks will benefit her. I mean, it's sure not going to benefit him. Sure, he likes her okay, but she's still a town weirdo and his reputation will likely take a hit if he marries her. But it's a hit he can withstand and is willing to take for her. She refuses, which is a shame, but if she's not going to let you stay to keep her safe, you can't just leave Maurice to potentially do who knows what. So everyone prepares to take him away to the asylum for treatment. Belle starts yelling that there is a beast. Oh no, it is genetic and she's crazy too. But then she takes out a mirror that seems to be cursed, showing the image of a monster. A monster that she says is less than a day's ride away? So close to your village, the place you're responsible for protecting? And now she's practically swooning over this buffalo bear thing and calling you a monster? Clearly, she's crazy too. Which is a shame. You really did like her and want to protect her and all, but this is too much. No, clearly she and Maurice both need to be put away and tended to by professionals, but in the meantime, there's a monster threatening your town. And here's where the accusations of kidnapping hit, when you lock them in their basement so they stay out of trouble while you go and take care of the problem. You saddle up your noble, fearless steed, the village men arm themselves, and you, being an expert tracker, are able to follow the trail Belle took on her horse straight to the castle. A real castle! Here in your forests! How did no one find this before? Well, it is true that most people avoided this particular area due to the wolves here being extremely dangerous, but still, this is one heck of a thing to miss. You all get inside. You're more than happy to let the villagers take whatever valuables they can find in an old abandoned castle like this. You don't really need it. Making sure that they know to let you be the one to confront the monster. The rest of them simply aren't fighters like you are, and you don't want them to put themselves in danger. You are clearly the fittest and strongest among them, so you should be the one to face the greatest danger. And it's your duty anyhow. You're the protector of the town, and it's your job to be the one in harm's way when there's a threat. You go to confront the beast. Everything seems quiet. Too quiet. You find the creature, and it seems sick? Maybe Belle, before she lost her mind, was able to poison it or something. Perhaps it was the terror of encountering such a creature that caused her poor mind to break. But you're made of stronger stuff, so you try to finish it off. When you're just about to deliver the final blow, Belle shows up and yells, distracting you. How did she get out? And more importantly, what is she doing here, in a place that could be so dangerous? She's no fighter. This is no place for a woman. The monster takes advantage of your distraction and attacks you, very nearly throwing you off the castle. It's clearly about to finish you off when it's distracted by Belle, heading straight towards her. A lesser man would have taken this opportunity to run, to get your rifle or something else to give you an advantage. But not you. You can't and won't abandon Belle to this creature, even if she is mad. You rush after it. It's very distracted, and reaching out for Belle. Just as it touches her face, possibly about to crush her head in its monstrous paws like a grape, you pull your hunting knife from your belt and plunge it into the monster's side, hoping to hit something vital. You've killed plenty of bears and deer and wolves, but you have no idea what this thing's internal anatomy must be like. But it doesn't matter, as long as you give Belle the chance to get away safely. The creature roars and flails, knocking you off the tower, falling to what you're sure will be your demise. But at least, you can hope that the rest of the villagers will be safe. Hopefully the creature will bleed out before it can reach any of the men who came with you, and Belle? Maybe she'll be able to run. Maybe she'll get away, and someone else can see to it that she and her father get the care they need. Maybe one of the keen young boys in the village will take your place as the hunter and protector. You just have to hope that the sacrifice of your life is worth it, and that your village, your home, and the people in it, for whom you've put yourself in danger so many times facing bears and wolves and now actual monsters, are safe. Does this sound like a villain to you, or a tragic hero? I'd hope it would be painfully obvious which he truly is. A man who protects and provides for his village. A man who wanted to see everyone getting the care they needed and to stop them from harming themselves or anyone else. A man who faced a monster alone, rather than risk the lives of anyone else, even if they were willing to walk barefoot into hell alongside him. He sacrificed himself to protect his village, and the twisting of the tale is nothing short of appalling. Sure, it turned out to be one big misunderstanding later on, but how was he to know that? All he had to go on were the words of two people no one ever took seriously because of their clear insanity. Gaston is no villain. He is a tragic hero. So, honored members of the court, the idea of pressing any sort of charges against him is nothing short of ghastly. In the case of Belle, Maurice, and the Beast versus Gaston, I find the defendant not guilty.